Tony, you're holding hands with somebody else now.
Yeah, we are. It's been a long gestation. It's something that's been talked about between ourselves and a company called Aqualinc Research for a number of years. We've done a lot of work together for the last 5 or 6 years. Actually, we have had their staff working for us in the summer. Our staff work for them in the winter. We appear at hearings together when I need certain expertise for certain resource consent work. I second their staff, they second our staff, and it's just it's like, well, why are we doing this as two independent companies? And then of course you've got the good old succession plan, and that lurks in the back of your mind as well, and it's not particularly palatable when you think about what might happen in maybe 4 or 5 years when you pull that roller door down and clip it shut and put a padlock on it, and you try and sell off your assets, and you think, well, actually there's not a lot there.
No, it's actually all above your shoulders, Tony.
That's right. So it's an opportunity to bring another facet of farm services work into hydro services. I mean, what you see is what you're going to get. Hydro services is still out there. I'm still in hydro services, and all those people that are still working for hydro services will still be working for hydro services.
Yep. We
will just be one company now.
So after several years of dating, you're now getting married. What do they do? I mean, we know what you do.
Yeah, look, they have several branches. They do quite a lot of research work. So they do national good research. So they have research funding. They do a lot of work for territorial authorities, so the regional councils and district councils, that type of work. So they're doing a lot of planning work, especially in the water field. So working out most of the new schemes that have come along, like Ruataniwha and what's being planned in the Wairarapa, then Aqualinc have been involved in working out what volumes of water are required on what areas of land, and therefore how much water you've got to store. They've been heavily involved in modelling work, for example, for the Central Plains Water Scheme. So they're right alongside what we're doing. They've got a small farm services group as well, which we will absorb into hydro services effectively. So we'll bring in telemetry and water metering and that sort of stuff, which we don't do.
It's an obvious marriage.
Yeah, it is a very obvious marriage,
okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
well, congratulations to you both.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Now, where are we at with spring?
Oh, look, the spring is really panning out as we expected it to. Way back as far as the beginning of June, there were lots of people talking about the fact that El Nino is coming. It's going to strengthen, and we're looking down the barrel at something that's very similar to...
Tell us a wee bit about this graph that I'm holding up.
Well, anything that's red, the red bars on here means that we've got a negative Southern Oscillation Index, which means that we're in the La Nina area, El Nino area. Typically westerly, northwesterly, lots of rain on the west coast, very warm and dry on the east coast. Winters are typically under El Nino. We get a lot of southwesterly type weather, which is exactly what we've had this winter. And now we reached the equinox period, and suddenly those northwesterly winds come howling in. And we've had a whole sequence of those in the last sort of 3 to 4 weeks. If you think back 3 or 4 weeks, we had an amazing week of 20-degree temperatures in early September. 20 degrees, and everybody's going, whoa. Well, northwesterly, and then we get a little bit of a southerly, southwesterly, which is dry, comes through, a little bit of snow in the mountains, and that's it. And then if you think of what we've had in the last 5 or 6 days, we've had typically El Nino type conditions, very strong westerly winds or northwesterly winds, heaps of rain on the west coast, nothing on the east coast, and quite damaging winds, and even over the weekend, dust everywhere, which is, and if you think back to those years, the 97, 98s, I think 2003, 4, those sorts of seasons, that's what we get, and that's what we're getting. So this could turn out to be a pretty tough irrigating season. Our demand is going to come on very quickly, so we've already started irrigating. There's lots of people around that are having to unbelievably irrigate crops, to irrigate paddocks, to actually allow the seed to get through the ground, the plants to emerge, because the very warm weather we've had has crusted the surface. So Some of the plants, especially some of the vegetable seeds, spinaches and radishes and those sorts of things, are pretty useless at breaking through. So you've got to moisten that surface up again to allow them to get through. Having to irrigate to get chemical, pre-emergence chemical to work. You know, all these sorts of things are indicators that we're heading down, we're heading down this path, and the weather patterns are certainly suggesting that's where we're going. We're heading down this path.
I mean, anybody who's got dry land farming must be sweating profusely.
Yeah, they will be sweating profusely. If you go into North Otago, for example, they're saying it's as dry as they can ever remember in North Otago.
At this time of year?
At this time of the year. We've only just reached October. So anybody without water in North Otago is not in good shape. North Canterbury is still not out of the woods. They got some reasonable rain 10 days, 12 days ago.
But they're still very
30,
dry.
40, 50 millimetres. Well, it barely touches the surface. You get these winds and we're in trouble.
Please keep us in touch.